Hello and welcome to Smaulgld.com. Here comes the gold-backed yuan without the gold. China has announced no plans for a gold-backed or redeemable yuan. Since we've seen that story on September 1st in the Asian Nikkei review about a gold-backed yuan, no source has been cited by any commentator or analysis that the Chinese have made any such announcement about a gold-backed or gold-redeemable yuan. Now, we've seen many analysts and commentators report on the story as if this is something that China has announced. I've seen that on a few occasions. China announced this. No, they didn't announce anything. There was this story in the Nikkei Asian Review. Now, recent variants of this gold-backed yuan story involve oil producers accepting yuan for payments and then buying gold with the proceeds. Now, originally the story was that China was going to back the yuan and with gold, and they were going to give the oil producers gold from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And then it was pointed out that that wouldn't work because apparently you can't export gold out of China or take delivery from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So the story changed, and they said that the gold will be sourced from outside of China. However, that type of arrangement doesn't constitute a gold-backed yuan or even a yuan redeemable in gold. That is no different than, as Josh Wiley wrote in one of the comments to the Alistair McLeod interview with Rory Hall, if my employer pays me in dollars and I go and buy gold with it, that doesn't mean that the employer is backing his payments by gold. What you choose to do with your payments doesn't make the original deal gold-backed. Now, what they tried to say was, if oil producers are going to get yuan and they're going to want gold, and therefore there's going to be more gold demand. Well, that's like saying the more employees that employer hires, the more employees that he has, the more they get paid in dollars, the more they may convert their dollars into gold. Game over. I don't think so. So this arrangement is not even an arrangement that it has been approved by China. This is an arrangement that these people that were speculating, but allowing a story to go out as a gold-backed or gold-redeemable yuan as something that the oil producers might choose to do. Well, that's speculation. That is not anything near an announcement of a gold-backed yuan. This type of misleading story highlights what I call another gold pumper story that distorted the facts of a potential yuan-denominated oil futures contract to make it seem relevant to gold demand. There is a story, and that story is that China wants to use the yuan and internationalize it and have it be used and be more acceptable. And they're finding that they can get oil producers that are under sanctions like Russia and Iran and Venezuela to accept the yuan. However, making the big leap over to this is now somehow either gold-backed or gold-redeemable or indicative of new gold demand, because now all these oil producers are going to take the yuan and go and buy gold with them. That's a real stretch. Also, it doesn't go with China's plans, because if China wants to internationalize the yuan, they don't want people accepting the yuan and then dumping the yuan and going and buying gold. Now, the latest twist in all this is, that once everyone's piling on, there was another story out in CNBC, and this was listed as news. China will force Saudi Arabia to accept the yuan as payment. And we're going to see why that story is a bunch of nonsense, too. Let's go back where this all started. It started with a headline, September 1st, 2017, Asian Nikkei Review, quote, headline, China sees new world order with oil benchmark backed by gold. Now, I was told by Luke Groman on Twitter, don't pay too much attention to the headline. And he said it's not backed by gold, it's this redemption issue. Okay, putting that aside, that's what the headline reads. That's what people think the story's about. And it doesn't seem like anyone who was interviewed for that story made any effort to disabuse the author of that story that this is not or there's no announcement, there's no indication that China is going to issue a yuan benchmark backed by gold. This is what got me. The opening sentence, I read this and I said, wow, this is pretty interesting. China is expected to shortly launch a crude oil futures contract priced in yuan. I said, okay, well, that makes sense. And convertible into gold, into what analysts say could be game changer for the industry. And I thought, expected by whom? That was my first question. That's speculation. Who's expecting this? And no one seemed to be asking that question. Except a week later, I found that Coase Jansen had also had a gold analyst at, he's called Bullion Star, and he does a lot of tremendous gold research into China. He's an expert on the Shanghai Gold Exchange mechanisms, follows the People's Bank of China. He does estimates onto how much gold is in China. So he's quite knowledgeable on it, and he had the same reaction I did, and he found the story remarkably unbelievable, and like I did, unsourced. So the alternative media, they do this great job. They see a story from the mainstream media, they don't think it smells right, they don't think it sounds right, and they investigate the hell out of it. Look at the Las Vegas shooting story. All you have to do is go on to YouTube or the alternative media sites, and you will see 12 ways down to sundown all these different theories on why the shots came from over here, the shots came from up here, there was 3 people involved, there was 4 people involved, this person said this. That's great. You got all eyes on a story, so this way the mainstream media can't make up a fake narrative. However, as I've said in the past, the alternative media does a horrible job investigating stories for which it has a favorable bias. So this story comes out, Asian Nikkei Review, China's going to back the yuan with gold. End of story. No one's going to ask a question. Now it's off to the races with the speculation. No one checked the veracity of this gold-backed story. Alternative media, analysts, commentators, they start speculating about what this new gold-backed yuan might mean. Game changer. Game over for the dollar. Dollar's days are numbered. De-dollarization. All these breathless pronouncements. Here's what China's doing. China announced this. China's on the move. China plays the long game. China has gold. They're smart. They know what's coming. Yeah, but they never said any of this. China's not doing any of this. There's no indication that China is backing the yuan with gold or is even making an arrangement for oil producers to redeem their yuan in gold. None of that exists. That's a story in the Asian Nikkei Review. So this is another story, what I call fake but accurate. It's Dan Rather. Well, it's directionally correct, and China does want to internationalize the yuan, and they do have a lot of gold, and it would make sense for them to do this. Yeah, but they're not doing it. There's a big difference. Now, Rory Hall of the Daily Coin interviewed Alistair McLeod of Gold Money early this week. Now, he was cited in this Asian Nikkei Review gold-backed yuan story. And Mr. McLeod explained in the video that I've put below here, you can check it out, that it is expected that China will launch an oil's futures contract denominated in yuan. I don't doubt that. I've seen links to official Chinese documents where they're talking about testing this. Makes sense. They want to use the yuan. Okay. But what Mr. McLeod mentioned in the interview with Rory was that oil producers will be receiving proceeds under that contract, but they won't be able to redeem their proceeds for gold from China because China has an export ban on gold, but rather would have to enter into a separate contract to receive the gold from outside of China. And the thought being, well, once they all start entering into these contracts, there's going to be a rush to then convert them into gold. They're going to do it on the LBMA. They're going to do it out of London, and that's going to create enormous additional gold demand, and the price is going to soar, game over. And that's going to have an impact on the dollar. I don't even think that's good speculation. But again, that's speculation. That's not the same thing as a gold-backed yuan or a yuan redeemable in gold. That is, as the yuan gets used more, someone speculates that they may take the yuan and turn them rather into dollars, as Grant Williams says in the interview, in the Asian Nikkei review. Instead of turning them into treasuries to hold, they would turn them into gold. But there's no indication that they do that now, because there is trading. There are countries that are accepting the yuan, and it doesn't seem like there's any additional gold demand. But again, that's speculation. I don't argue with speculation because that's someone's opinion. That's something that could happen. It may be unreasonable, but it's an issue. But it's not news. And it's certainly not a gold-backed yuan or a yuan redeemable in gold. Now, just to put the nail in the coffin, Mr. Hall astutely asked if these two contracts, you get the yuan-denominated oils contract and then you enter into the agreement to purchase the gold out of London, if they're linked in any way. And Alistair said no. Well, then China's out of the picture. China has nothing to do with it. Yes, they may have in the future a yuan-denominated oil futures contract, but they've got nothing to do with what the oil producer does with their proceeds. So this is not a gold-backed or gold-redeemable yuan under Mr. McLeod's version of the story. But yet he's cited in the story as it being a gold-backed or gold-redeemable yuan story in the Asian Nikkei review. So given that there's been no announcement from China regarding gold-backed yuan redeemable in gold, Alistair's version is reasonable, makes sense of what might happen. But again, that's not gold-backed, and that is not gold-redeemable. So what the oil producers choose to do with their proceeds is their business. They may or may not buy gold. In fact, you could call the dollar gold-backed. When the United States pays dollars for its oil, when an oil producer gets dollars from the United States for its oil, and they go and buy gold, that wouldn't make the dollar gold-backed. I'll say that again. If an oil producer sells its oil to the United States or anyone else and receives dollars and goes and buys gold with it, that doesn't make the dollar gold-backed. Similarly, you have a yuan-denominated contract, and the oil producer receives the proceeds and goes and buys gold. That doesn't make it the yuan backed by gold. Now, this got really out of hand when it was just the alternative media. I thought, Jim Rickards and all the top alternative media sites were talking about how China had announced the gold-backed yuan or the gold-redeemable yuan. Well, then I see on CNBC, Saxo Bank analyst who had written a research report, it looks like he fell for the news of the coming gold-backed yuan as well. So in a research report he wrote, and I took a look at it, he said the initial focus is on the global trade where China has announced the intention of buying oil in yuan, allowing trade partners to settle in yuan. They settle that yuan in gold. So I wrote to him on Twitter, where's the support for that statement that China has announced the intention of buying oil in yuan, allowing the trade to settle the yuan in gold? He sends to me a link to oilprice.com, which is effectively a repeat of the Asian Nikkei review story, to which I point out that is not a source, because it's not a source. It's just a repeat of what the story said. And then I emailed him a few more times explaining why there has been no announcement. Well, I guess he did his own research after he wrote the report, and after he was on CNBC, and CNBC was touting this concept that there's a gold settlement of a yuan oil payment contract. He said, looking into correcting the way this is stated, thanks for pointing it out. So I could see this is an honest mistake, but this is the problem. When a story comes out and people just accept it, and the story it was deceptive in that it never cited a source. It just assumed people will accept that because it's in the Asian Nikkei review that this is happening. Well, the latest one, the same day, just a couple of days ago, this is another headline on CNBC. So they posted two of these stories. China will compel Saudi Arabia to trade oil in yuan. Now that's another game changer. See people saying, got gold. Well, hold on. If you look at the story, this isn't news. This is a speculative opinion of a guy named Carl Weinberg, of a two-person firm called High Frequency Economics. This is his speculative opinion. This isn't news, but yet people see this. It says China will compel. It doesn't say speculation. It doesn't say analysts suggest. It just says this is the headline in CNBC. Well, you know what people do with headlines? The same thing they did with the Asian Nikkei Review headline. Gold-backed yuan coming soon. Game changer. Here, this one says, this is the headline. China will compel Saudi Arabia to trade oil in yuan. And that's going to affect the US dollar. Fact. Bingo. That's it. Done. Game changer. Dollar collapse. Get gold. So, I tweeted out immediately more fake news based on the, it's a derivative of the Nikkei Asian Review story, gold-backed yuan, and it's 3 reasons the world could turn its back on the dollar. And, China's going to compel Saudi Arabia to do this. All right, here's a conclusion. Look, certain Chinese trading partners, as we mentioned, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, they already accept yuan. And maybe they buy gold, maybe they don't with the proceeds. It's hard to tell, but we know that Russia gets its gold from its domestic supply. Maybe they're going to start, this was a story, maybe they're going to start buying it off the Moscow exchange. I don't know where they get their money from, whether it's fungible from proceeds from China. It doesn't really matter. Russia is not upping its gold purchases. I report on it every month. Russia buys a decent amount every month, but no more, no less than they have the last 3 years. They've been averaging 200 tons a year, and it looks like that's what they're going to do again this year. So there's no increase because they're accepting yuan. Now, I think there will be a yuan-denominated oil futures contract. They will announce that. That won't be like, aha, you were wrong. No, they will do that. But there is no indication that that yuan-denominated oil futures contract will be gold-backed or redeemable in gold. If it is, fine. However, if it is, anyone who said that it is was only speculating at the time, because so far there have been no sources to indicate that China has announced such intentions, and therefore they probably won't do it. Thanks very much for listening.